Hello and welcome to Mama T Energy. I'm Tiara, aka Mama T, and I invite you on a journey to loving your life through stories, channeled messages, and energy work. I love life, and it is my mission to guide you and millions like us to discovering our passion for life. So let's open our hearts and dive in. Today, we are featuring Michelle Coutinho. She is a transformational leader, teacher, healer, and guide. Her vocal empowerment coaching helps conscious professionals discover their authentic voice, embody their deepest purpose, and own their personal power. Her work is best described as transmission, where she uses her voice and presence to blend many modalities, including working with mantra, shamanic song, energy work, yogic practices, somatic embodiment, intuitive counseling, and sound healing. Her voice channels timeless wisdom and ancient song that awakens and opens the hearts of those who are ready to hear. She is the creator of vocal alchemy and embodiment, a process that uses the voice as a gateway to the subtle body, releasing trauma and healing the psyche on a multi-dimensional level. Michelle's work goes beyond traditional therapy, offering a rich, potent transmission of love, transmutation, and healing that touches the soul. Welcome,
Mm.
Michelle. Thank you so much for being here.
Such a beautiful alignment to my own work by hearing that. It's really so, and no, seriously, it's such a gorgeous thing to be like, that's is what I'm in service to. Yes, all of those things. Yeah. So thank you for that.
Oh, thank you. It's beautiful to have you here. You guys might remember that Michelle was the first of this year's interviews coming on, and I just felt like we have to talk again because there's just so much beauty, and I just love your energy so much. And you were speaking before we hopped on about synchronicity of today, and I kind of want to just, allow the audience to kind of hear what does synchronicity mean to you, and how has it been showing up for you lately?
Yeah, let's see. Well, I mean, I have to be completely transparent because I don't know another way to be. I had a side hustle and it was for me to bring in my work, but in a linear way. So for people who don't know, I have a background as a college professor. And so I started in graphic art and design. We're like right out of college. I became a web designer. I literally was like, oh my God, I'm 22 and you're telling me with this laptop I can work from anywhere? Because that's just like, that was just, I'm 41 now, right? So this is 20 years ago. This is like the little journey that I'm taking you on. And then about like 11, 12 years ago, I was working like in the basement of like a video editing at a college called Full Sail University. And I became a teacher. It was like a very karmic, it was my Saturn return. So the year before, I became a yoga teacher. And then, I mean, this is synchronicity 101, everything that I'm sharing actually. I met the guy at a Christmas party and he was like, you won't return my calls. And I was like, who are you? Like, guy talking to me. He wanted to hire me to be his assistant. And then he became the head of the department of the web design department. And I moved into teaching his class. So I used my background in graphic art to teach user interface and usability. And here's another synchronicity, and it's also a download that I had from the heavens was that so I've always been very bohemianly dressed, and I was wearing this beautiful skirt that was from India but we got it at a hippie shop in California, my mother and I. So I'm wearing this giant skirt, kind of, you can see for those of you who are on video, you can see my clothes today. It's very similar. And I'm at a blackboard, and there's all these young men because the school was a private school, and they had a scholarship for military, et cetera, et cetera. So all these young men are in my classroom and I'm teaching them design. And I'm on the blackboard and I'm like 29, 30 years old. And I have this like Athena archetype wisdom teacher download thing happen where I was like, oh, I've like done this exact thing where I'm teaching people like lifetime, lifetime, lifetime. And it was like an initiation in my Saturn return of like being a teacher. And so we always get pivoted to, group programs, to jobs, to coaches, to relationships, at these cross quarter times. So it's like, well, cross quarter, today's in bulk when we're recording. It's like we're in this like halfway point between the winter solstice and the March equinox. And there's these little pops of like alignment and life speaking to you. And so today, and I don't know why yet, and whatever, I'm just going to say it. So I was let go from a side hustle that I was doing. I was working as a psychedelic integration coach for a company. And I learned so much by doing that for 5 months. I learned like I'm not a traditional therapist, and I'm actually quite better than a traditional therapist because people who were experiencing 10 years of depression, anxiety, like just by being in presence with me for 1 hour, that you would I would they would talk to me about all their things, and they would be caught in what Ram Dass would call their mind net, and it was so deep, and all the pain and all the things, and then I would speak in a reflection of what I was seeing, and their eyes would open in a way like no one had ever given them that insight into themselves before. And so I was really grateful. But the pay was terrible. It was almost insulting, and it was taking a lot of energy from me to do. But I felt like maybe this is stabilizing my energy field in some way, because it's like sometimes you want that 1 foot in, and then I got that job, and then I got a handful of clients at the end of the year, and so I was like, okay, there's a balance here, and I have a personal trainer that was telling me like the time, because it took me, like I had to manage my time. He was like, it's masculine energy, it's good for you to be in this way, and all the, you know what I mean? And I was like, I don't know, honey, I think it's like not witchy, and I need more of this. And yeah, because for those of us who are multidimensional, we crave our life, and it can create a little bit of instability, and that's why it's really hard to trust, because you don't quite know you sense what's coming, but you don't quite know, right? So there's so much value of the practical linear world of having things on routine, and then there's this other place that I'm leaning into. I'm like surrendering deeper and deeper into, and being called to surrender deeper and deeper into, is this really feminine receptivity. And so taking away my own conditioning, my own ancestral programming of like paranoia or attack, right? From the genocides that have happened in my lineages, and all of these things that, and also everything that's happening right now in our current culture that is trying to make us feel unsafe. And that is like really sabotaging our personal sovereignty purposefully, especially women who look like you and me, right? It was like a straight up like Christian nationalist, like take back the power into like white male patriarchal hands, billionaire consciousness, and like the beautiful, like brown skin anyone is the enemy, right?
Mhm.
And that is like programming that we have to fight. For me, it's a lot less because I'm in kind of in this nebulous place, but it's still in the conditioning, it's in the witch wound, it's in my past lives, for better or worse. And so it's something that I need to anchor myself deeper and deeper into trust, into this world, knowing that the light that I serve will carry me. And this is why it's also the bedrock of my work. And so to answer your question in like a smaller way, so the synchronicity is, I don't know why I was let go of the job, but the job has been evaporated, and my field today feels wide and big. And I'm creating this program that I'm really excited about, that's a 6-month immersion. And I was literally playing on it last night, and I knew we were going to have this conversation today. And I feel like it's a gift. I feel like the universe is literally opening the path for and like sharing with me and so what a beautiful yay.
Yes. And I had a very similar experience in that, I had what you would call like a side hustle, right? Something that I,
Yes.
I exchanged my time for money that created that stability that my human needed while I'm off doing the spiritual stuff that like my soul is calling for, like 1 foot in and 1 foot out kind of vibration. And I too was let go. No reason was given. It was just like I think I was told that I didn't fit the brand anymore or
I heard that in my head when I heard that that's what they were going to tell me. I heard that's so cool that's a synchronicity right there. Go
that right
ahead. You
there. On
go. I
point. That
heard
is
it. I knew it.
so
I was like, they're going to say that it's something, something, and it's just a vibrational mismatch.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I took it to mean like maybe, and I think this feels for you too, like too bigger. We're bigger than what they can hold right now. Like our capacity has far exceeded what their intention and what they were looking to cultivate, And because when I think about it, like I was making some really amazing sales because this was a sales job, and but they just couldn't contain my energy, whatever that is for them. But what I found as I was driving home too, because there was just like part of me was like, okay, part of my human was like, okay, well now some consistent money is now left my vicinity. What am I gonna do with this? But I was just like, you know what? This is all perfect. I now have like I was gonna miss hanging out with my friends. I got to go hang out with my friends. I got to do what I wanted to do rather than what I felt like I needed to do to find safety. Because I am finding that the
Oh,
safety is
totally.
just showing up, right? If I can lean, if I can surrender, it just shows up in a very unconventional way and not a way that I think. I already am. By the time this comes out, like I think my podcast episode about the $5,000 that I manifested
Yeah,
uh
talk about that. Talk
will
about
show
that.
up.
I'm
But just in
totally here
case,
for it because I want to hear it.
but like I said, like unconventional ways, like that the day that I manifested the money was also a day I manifested another job interview that would also put me in a space where I could do in-person like healing and breathwork stuff. So that's really cool, but that's a whole nother story. But
Oh, so good.
that morning I literally was just like sitting crisscross applesauce on the top of my bed. I was just like taking deep breaths in. And one thing I will say is in terms of my energy, I was not in a place of like I am desperate for this money. I need it now. It was a very like I would really like to just be able to pay my bills with ease this month. Like, I would really like just to have more ease and flow and not feel in like any sort of tension. I want to be at peace, was kind of what it was. And it would be really nice to just have like $5,000 that feels like a great place to be at peace right now. And that was kind of the energy that I put into the world. Conversation that I had with God, if you will. And I feel like within moments, like I meditated a little bit. I just sat in my peace, and then I came to my phone and I looked, and there was this email from a old 401k plan that I haven't looked at in probably 11 years. I like it's insane. Like I hadn't looked at it in forever. I knew I had taken money out of it when I first moved to LA. And so I didn't even think there would be money in it, to be honest, because I took a big chunk out of it already. So I was like, there's nothing in there or whatever. And so but Spirit was just like, just open the email for once. Like you've been getting this email like probably every couple of weeks for the last like 10 years. Just like open the email. And so I opened the email and it like 401k plan that's been like grossing however much in like money and then stocks and whatever. And so it had accrued up to like over $5,000, enough for when I take it out that the taxes that will be taken from it will allow it to be still $5,000. So with ease, with flow, and almost immediately it showed up for me.
That's so beautiful. What a gift. What a
Yes.
gift. What a gift. What a gift. And I love how you described something I was listening to, a reading for me, like my own personal mentorship, and they were talking about the leaning back.
Mm,
And what you're talking about is it's a yogic principle actually. It's called aparigraha, which means non-grasping.
mm,
Non-grasping. And all the friends that I have that are very quantum, I wouldn't describe myself as that. I would describe myself as more shamanic, which you spoke to in our last episode. And when I listened to that, I could also see how there was a fear in me running around like truly owning that because in the last like few months I don't know, I've been doing a lot of in-person things and doing a lot of in-person work, like meaning like I've been doing a lot of concerts and transmissions. I can feel the shamanic quality turn on in me and the difference between when it's me singing versus when it's like my field expands and it's me plus my spirit team.
mhm.
I was feeling I can completely own like there are these beings in me and whatever I'm woven to and connected to. It's a force and it's beautiful. And I'm grateful for that. I'm so grateful and in reverence to that. And it makes me feel very, humbled but solid. But anyway, when we But even the way that I was just talking about that is a transmission on a parigraha, because there's a different way, and I've been this way through my teaching career and life over the last 15 years, was like when I tell a story sometimes in my workshops, like I remember the first time I sang in 2014 to the trees, and the trees sang back, and I got scared. I was like, whoa, that's power. And then I remember in 2016 being like, sing back, trees. And like them being like, what are you, what? You know what I mean? Like, no, And so that sing back, trees is the grasping, like I
Mhm.
have power, I command, I demand, like do what I want from an ego perspective. It doesn't work. Spirit doesn't care. There's no, they don't, especially my guides, do not answer to that. We will wait. And so there's that. And then there's the resting and the being where you're like, I'm already, they say this, it's kind of cheesy, but it's like, I'm already whole
Mhm.
and I'm a creator. I'm a quantum designer of this life. Show me what you got. I'm ready to work with you. I've been instructed recently to open to a little bit of light, a little bit more possibility, and then see how the universe can meet me from that space. And I can feel that right now in my field, in this thing leaving my energy field of like, it was done from, I don't know. I mean, there was a multitude of things. I was all wanting to move into the company too and do music for the meditations, because they have people do the ketamine and the music and things like that. But
Mhm.
then when I went into the actual like understanding of the system and the way the cultures run versus the way that it's promoted is kind of two different things, as we see a lot in the business world. Yeah, that there's like, the forward face, and then there's the like actual operations, and you're like,
Oh yeah.
not the same vibe. But so that was my seed desire, was like, well, maybe I can have something where I'm moving through this company and serving, and I still do have this imagination of that, and maybe it'll just happen through my own, if I do more insight timer, audio transmissions. But it's more like, how do I reverberate and ripple, to them as many people, and then have like a consistent, because there's a part of me that wants to hermit, and just like write a, just like have that in me, like la 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 la, and send it out, and then I don't have to worry and think and stuff like that. But there, I think that's also the part of me that wants to, like there's a deep longing in my spirit right now of being held. And I think that sometimes we look for external things to hold us. And that is the opposite of like what I'm really learning, which is why I'm also teaching it, which is how to lean back and allow the infinite to hold you, and to understand that you're always held, right? And even if as I'm saying it, you can feel that it's like something that I'm stretching into. I really am. And like I can honestly say that like as I lead and teach, it's like what I am working on, and then I'm creating a field where we can all work on it together. Okay.
Yes. That's how I like lean into mentorship as well, because I feel like the more, especially as we share our knowledge and share what we're experiencing with others, then we come into like an embodiment for ourselves. And so there's like this beautiful I don't know, like my hands are just moving. I don't know the word.
Yeah. We start raving with life and we're like, yeah, yeah, totally.
But there's just like this beautiful connection between like the teaching and then the experiencing as we teach, and vice versa, as like people are learning, they get to also teach others too. And that's why I love like group sessions as well, like bringing people together in masterminds and programs so that we can all learn and grow together, and it just creates this beautiful ripple effect around our own personal communities, whether we meet people in person or online. It's so fire.
Yeah, I forget about that. Thank you for doing that, because I think what I was just talking about too is like the introvert in me, and I'm constantly in this dance, whether I want to like hide from social media and the world and run away and like go write a book and like get some side gig and like not ignore everybody and just like be in a like a little cave. I definitely have like my cave self, my monk self is like super present. But then there's this other space, which is like a priestess circle or a temple, where like you come into, yeah, and you dance together and you commune together. And every time I teach a group like that, every time that I'm in my own versions of like when that has happened to me, it has literally changed. Like I'm like seeing a spiral where you're like, oh man, like you turn into you access more of your true self. You just do. And oh my God, I'm seeing this other group program that it's like, and what you learn, especially for me, since I am a teacher and I am energetic, it's like every time I put myself in the right alignment happens and I'm in this another next portal, I learn, I widen, my field widens as somebody, and that's who I like to serve too. I think that I'm, and it's a cheesy thing, and it can be like a marketing thing around like being a healer's healer or a teacher's teacher. But I
Mhm.
really do have seen that the people, just like me going to my friend's group, I was thinking of this woman Nina Way of Devotion. She's a girlfriend of mine. But I remember working with her and I've assisted her in different capacities. And that helped me. That gave me so much, from doing that. And then that helps me turn around and help other people who help other people. Like a lot of people who I work with are nurses and acupuncturists and other wellness practitioners. And there's something in my level of, I would say, like ancientness or maturity or wise womanness that like helps them integrate so that they can do the magic that they do. And I do see it like that. I see it like this little chain of like teachers who are like, like I learn over here, I bless, and then I turn around and I bless this person, and they do the same.
Yes, I love it because you said teaching teachers, and one of the things that I've
Yeah,
really been saying lately is I lead leaders. So it's just, again, synchronicity
totally,
all day.
totally, totally. I do feel like I teach teachers. Teachers and healers are like my they're usually really sweet beings.
Mhm.
I do really well with like deeply caring, empathic people who care so much they doubt themselves and see that their vulnerability is their strength. That's the thing that I need to instill in them so that they trust that part of themselves that's also warrior, because that's a part of this like archetype as well. And then unhook from programs, usually of abuse, of trauma, and trying to find a match in the outer world reflected to them when that doesn't happen, because the multidimensional can only be reflected to in the vertical axis, not so much the horizontal. So when we look outside of ourselves in the horizontal, or what we were talking about, like looking at it like a job, like this logically will give me stability, but then that like I'm afraid actually of like relaxing, or what you and I were talking about on Facebook, which was like the intimacy of life when we're like avoiding like a depth within ourselves that we can expand into, because it's like asking for more of us to widen without even our, it's like not our agenda. That's what surrender is about. It's not our agenda, it's spirit's or our soul's agenda for us. And just like I was talking about my programming of like, should I just run away and like go be a monk by myself? It's like, girl, you did that in other lifetimes. In this lifetime, you're meant to like hold a space so that the people who are on that bridge, that precipice between like the world, but also they're multidimensional on the inside, they need I want to say like a safe haven to like come and attune to what they know to be true, so that when they go back out into the world, their voltage is full of like magic, juju that they can then like share and spread. And the other thing that I want to speak about that's so important right now, because of all the craziness we're seeing in the presidency and the money and the oligarchies and all these things, is that the people who are tuned to these frequencies that we're speaking to, and all the people who would listen to this, we're being asked to weave into the subtle realms, and instead of taking personal all the energy of attack and be feeling thwarted, and maybe sure rise up in anger, but I would also say understand that there's this interconnective energetic web that we can still embody And it takes a lot of resilience. It takes a lot of personal self-care practices. It takes a lot of strengthening our own energetic and ego forces. But if we, again, trust in the subtle realms, then, we will survive, and we will be able to do what we're here to do. It's just going to look a different way because the world as a mass consciousness is too, I want to say, immature to get to where we are, but there are those of us who are still doing what we're doing and growing in little bits, and we need to be a salve for what's happening in the world, and we've known that. I think all the light workers have had that programming of like, the old way is crumbling and we're going to be the people who are the healers, etc. But it doesn't seem to be happening in quite the tone or the texture that we thought it would.
Hmm.
It seems to be dismantling in a way that's a little bit more abrasive, and the people and the conversations are not are suspicious of spirituality more than they are seeking it. And then once they do find it, it's like, oh my God, yes, thank you. Like, and so it's just holding steady for all of us who are on this path.
And, going on that conversation about surrender, so like with suspicion, I feel like is like totally the opposite of surrender, right? Like it's like, all right, I'm suspicious, I'm
Point.
gonna try this thing out, and but you're so attached to the outcome of it. Like I'm only going to believe once I see a result, when really it is the result comes when you believe in the result already. So like you have to have that belief first. You have to again surrender. So can you take some moments to like talk more about what people can expect in your upcoming program?
In my program, yes. But I want to piggyback. I'm going to say that in one moment. And I want to piggyback because I'm singing at a yoga studio on Sundays now. And this last week I sang Amazing Grace. And they have the line in Amazing Grace that was like, how precious did that grace appear in
Mhm.
the hour I first believed. Same with your manifestation. And same with me being asked to like my book that I'm writing is called Tuning to Wisdom. And it's really this body of my work, which is like our attunement to the highest, whether we're seeing it reflected in the tangible 3D world or not, is really what allows that beautiful force that creates all of life to work through us. Surrender is the key. Surrender is that step that we must require, that is required in order to allow ourselves to tune to wisdom. We can't we can't embody the highest light and the highest love. We can't open to what we're calling in without some kind of acknowledgement that we have to actually let go of whatever we're holding on to or grasping. That's the aparigraha. And so it's an attunement. But my program in specific is this particular year is going to be gangster because the eclipses are on the equinoxes. And last year I was told not to do a 6 month group, and it was like a very direct order. And I'm just like, again, you can tell by listening to me, I'm one of these people who feels into things and figures it out like as we go. And it's like, okay, so the equinox is March 13th when this episode is coming out, right? Because it's got to be that, even though I want it to
Yes.
be earlier. And then the other eclipse is in September. So we're working with the Pisces Virgo axis for the eclipses. It's a 6 month beautiful course that's attuned to the wheel of the year. And we work with the gateways of the eclipses, the equinoxes, the solstice, the full moons, the new moons, etc. I have a journey where I work with archetypes and archetypal energies through the lens of maiden, mother, crone, stag, father, sage. It interchanges between feminine and masculine energy, and we're learning how to embody these archetypes and see where they land within us, like how each of those archetypes show up within our being, because I believe as multidimensional beings, we have access to every stage of like elder and child inside of us, and masculine and feminine energy. And I'm going to be doing energetic practices as well as vocal empowerment practices. So, shamanic soul song activation, learning how to heal with your voice, pain and pleasure, and sounding those in the voice as well. So, there's a teaching component, there's a transmission component, there's energetic embodiment, and then there's Q&A. And with each person, I do a one-on-one at the beginning and a one-on-one at the end. So it's like, it's an initiation. It's like a mastermind, but it's an initiation for somebody who is ready, to feel initiated and come into their own inner wisdom in a new way on their journey. Yeah.
Mm. That feels divine. I love it
Oh,
so much.
thank,
That
thank
is
you.
so magical. And I think it's super, super powerful. I like myself, I'm like, ooh, that sounds exactly what I need in my life for real, for real,
Oh,
for real.
good.
So beautiful. Oh, I love your work. So, is there anything else that's coming up for you that you would like to share with our audience today?
Let's think. Yeah, I feel like, the word that's coming up is the word portal. And
Mm.
I feel like, as a call to action of for those who would want to join me in this program, or if you would want to join me in one-on-one work, I work with people for 3 months. And so if you want to join me in one-on-one or this surrender program, this surrender portal, and I can tell a little bit of a story of how this concept came to me. Ram Dass, some of you guys might know. I'm closing my eyes right now for those of you who are watching a video because I'm channeling a bit, I guess. Um, Ram Dass is one of my teachers, and I met him in human form a few times, which was really good. And I also sat with him on Skype. And I think around my 32nd birthday, was the last time that I spoke with him. And he was not chastising me, but like only like a guru or a teacher could, in the same way of like, I was really high strung during this conversation. We were talking about a parigraha at the beginning. I was very like tight. And it could have been hormonal, like, how that happens to women, like where you're like, yeah, exactly. I'm a tiger now and I need to bite something. So I was a little wound up in my body. And I think I was also putting a lot of pressure on myself because I knew it was the last time I was going to speak with him. And I was like, and it was my birthday, so I really wanted to get something out of it. I wanted to like, I'm a tiger and I have ego needs and desires and all these things. And he said something really beautiful to me. He was like, "You think you make decisions." He was like, "It's really all the Divine Mother. She does everything." And it was a man who, I don't know, he was in his 90s or something at this time, or 80s, and had done so many things in life and had tasted so much of God being there. And then, as those of you who know, who have gone through his journey, he had a stroke. And in the stroke, he didn't feel like God per se, and was like, there was nothing there. I died and there was nothing there. But then, through living through the stroke, understood a whole different dimension of like surrender and grace. And so he was surrender and grace. These are these things that we've been thinking about and speaking about intuitively through this conversation. And so I feel like my real mission with the School of Surrender, and me teaching this program and learning it at the same time that I'm holding space to teach it through others. And I've already taught it once before. I taught it in 2021, and that was, again, I could see it was life changing for the participants who went through it. But my call is to move vibrationally from someone who has a limited mindset of, and it's everybody who I serve as a client one on one. Like 80% of the women that I serve are so in the business world are so good at this, that, and the other thing, and they hustle and their masculine is super online, or they're mothers and they're super taxed because they're doing everything. They're raising children, they're taking care of family, nurses, mothers, and husbands that don't do it much as they could be, just women who are needing a temple and needing to lean back and trust their feminine and support, and also me in having unconditional faith and becoming someone who doesn't feel the need to chase or force and can let go and allow, like, I am held, and I'm held by my trust in the universe. And how do we embody that? And so this is like that's what the curiosity is. It's like surrender, trust, listen, open, and then play with all these practices to like do more deep in self-discovery. But there's this energetic bedrock and this tone. We have all the things that we do. We have all the exercises, what have you. But the real truth is going to be an attunement to allowing God and the universe to move through us and trusting the unknown to move our lives. That's the gift, yeah. And that's what he transmitted to me in 2015 when I spoke with him, and how aware I was that I didn't quite have that. So when I first wrote this program, that's what was coming up in me, and it was years later, and it was like bubbling up, and I was like, I need to write this, I need to write this. And then when it took the texture of mother, maid, and crone and all these Celtic things, that got woven from this other priestess initiation I had gone through. And that I went to Glastonbury, and was with 30 women, and we in the chalice well and doing rituals and all these things. And I think who I am as a healer and a soul is somebody who weaves. And it's so funny because we live in an age that's like completely opposite of that. But I weave traditions together to understand the oneness that is woven throughout all these traditions. And I think that's super important. So, because they all speak to the same truth, they all point to natural law. And I think for anybody who wants to manifest, but do it in a feminine way, if it wants to live a life, a priestess life, a goddess life, in a way where we can actually trust ourselves to like be held by and supported by life itself, then attuning to the wheel of the year, understanding masculine and feminine energies, understanding, how we show up in our own energetic body, where we need to soften and let go and surrender control in our own mindset so that we can open up to whatever else is wanting to move through us, I think is the biggest path that I'm on, and that's what I'm inviting people into.
Love it so much. One of the things that came up is like the word need, and it's something that has been coming up for me lately in the sense of that we don't need anything. Like our human can
So
want
true.
something, but it's that idea that we need this to live. We need this to whatever. And one of the things that I've come to recognize in my own belief structure is that the soul continues to live on. So while we're in this like fleshy meat suit, there is no need for anything unless you really feel a need to stay on this earthly plane right here, right now, in this exact moment. And so it's really divine just leaning into this, like, you know what? Actually, I don't need anything. It's just this programming, and I can let go anytime I decide to do so.
Yeah, totally. And the other thing is, let's talk about action for a moment, because
Mhm.
that's the reason why people on an egoic level are scared of surrender, because they're scared of, well, if I don't need anything, then nothing's going to happen, right?
Mhm.
And so there's a difference in a state of being when you are like oriented towards your witness consciousness and your higher self, which is what you're talking about in the sense of like attuning that I don't have a need, but because I'm whole as I am, which we were talking about with the manifestation of money, etc., versus, hey, there's a portal open. That door I'm supposed to walk through that door, or not supposed to, but if I walked through that door, then the timeline that is through that door equals more expansion XYZ, right? In whatever way my soul wants to grow. Or if I don't go through that door, then I get XYZ expansion in this way. Oh, and then that's what our choices are. And then what we say yes to and what we say no to literally creates our universe. Now, when I learned that, that tripped me out to the point where I got really anxious about making decisions. But it's also a way to be discernment and wise and understand that, like, divine inspired action. And then the other part is like, is that door a pull from a karmic place? Or is that door a pull from an expansive, like where I want to be going? Surrendered yes place. Is there fear that's like a gatekeeper blocking the door, and it's fear from wisdom of like that's not the right door to go to? Or is the fear something that can be burned away as resistance and letting you know that there's power on the other side of that door? And that if I notice the fear, feel the door, feel uncomfortable, don't know what's on the other side, but I'm pushing through. I have a situation in my own life right now where I can see this. I'm pushing through the pain of the past that this might remind me of in order to fully trust myself in my anchor as I am right now and move through that door knowing who I was then when a similar opportunity was. I'm different now. The initiations have passed. And now as I move forward, I will be in a right relationship to whatever happens or doesn't happen. I trust myself to be able to valuably take or leave whatever's on the other side of it. And so I will walk through it with that knowing. And that's sovereignty. We're like in our divine truth and our sovereignty. And then we've opened up and then we see what's on the other side. And that's really an empowering thing. I also believe that in the past that heals whatever karmic thing that we're carrying and neutralizes it. And I don't believe anymore in the language of being tested because I've beaten myself
Mhm.
over the head with that so much. But I do believe that these are like kind of the qualities of initiation that happen in the sense of like you make a decision, where you're making that decision from is very important. How you walk through the portal is important. And then the choices you make on the other side is important. And if you are in that witness that you were just describing, while you're doing all of those things and you don't let yourself get hijacked or triggered, or you don't turn into a smaller version of you that is in need, right? Then you can do all of that with grace and in surrender. And that's what I would call walking as if we have wings in this world in my work, is that we have to remember who we really are. Super challenging to do sometimes, but who are we really and how do we show up and how do we attune ourselves to that quality of wisdom and grace and truth and honor and let go of, and that's that surrender piece, let go of all of these like little hooks that want to feed on us and make us feel like we need all these things, as opposed to like being an embodiment of a temple and then rippling and radiating out. So that's what I'm working on. Come join me.
Yes. Please do. Ooh. Um, would you have a taste of like a song to share at
Sure. Let's do, I have my little shaker thing here. I'm wondering if I should get a bowl. Let me get a bowl.
beautiful. This is so exciting. I love it.
Bowl, 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 bowl. That's my song. Bowl, 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 bowl. I'm also a goof for those of you who haven't figured that out yet. So talk about mixing traditions. I'm gonna sing a Cherokee song with a chapaka. Chapaka is a South American tool. One day I'll Wendeya, Wendeya, Wendeya. Hey-ya-ho, 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 ya, ya, hey-ya. Yeah, yeah. When they are, when they are, when they are, when they are. Ay-ya-ho, 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 ya, ya, hey-ya. Yeah. When they are, 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 Dayore no de, dai ui, dai yu. When they are,
Beautiful. Ah, thank
thank
you
you so much. So fun.
so,
This is
so
wonderful.
much. Oh, wonderful, wonderful. We'll be learning these songs be a part of Surrender, or there's some other space that they can
That's
learn
a great
songs from.
idea. Well, I actually, I'm going to be doing a retreat. I haven't officially affirmed it, but I'm talking to the people at this resort that they want me to do something at this beautiful resort in Austin called Moonflower Hill.
Ooh,
It's a
flower.
gorgeous space. It's like on a big cliff, and you can like look down and see the lake and the water. And I want to do a retreat called Voices Vessel. It's a half-day workshop where, yeah, I forgot about teaching songs. So I was going to have people like talk about their relationship with their voice, do partner practices, embodiment practices. And yes, I mean, in the surrender program, I'm teaching all these things, but we have the exercise component, which is also like teaching, but that's a good idea to like teach songs. Like people like that want the medicine of these songs and to teach them like here are because I have like I would say like 50 medicine songs in my beautiful book that I got in Glastonbury at the priestess retreat and like I write down like and I work with mantras. I have these Native American chants, I have the goddess chants and the Celtic chants, and just like rainbow songs they call them is like ceremony circle songs, and it's really important for people so that they can start singing and have the confidence to sing as well. So basically, I guess my final call to action is just message me. Like if you're hearing this, Michelle at michellecoutinho.com. Either sign up and like apply michellecoutinho.com. I can give you the link to the surrender page as well. But it's just like message me, let's talk, because those who are meant to come, it's going to be like a small pocket of you. I'll directly speak with you, and then we'll see if we're meant to grow in this way together in whatever way. It could be the coaching, could be seeing me in person at a retreat. It could be the alchemy of this beautiful container that I'm birthing. And it could be just saying hi, you know. Yeah, why? Why not?
It's all magic. It's all medicine. It's all
Yeah, we never
beautiful.
know. Yeah, we never
Yes.
know. Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Michelle, for being here. Again, friends, I will put all the links in the show notes. So if you are feeling the call to go in any direction, please use those links as you see fit. And of course, you can always go to mamateenergy.com for all the offerings and magic and wisdom that I have to share. I love you so, so much. Remember to share, and I will see you where I see you next.